In a forest that was not too crowded, yet never truly silent, many kinds of animals lived, each with their own traits and habits. The forest always felt alive. There was the sound of leaves brushing against one another in the wind, the songs of birds echoing from afar, and sometimes the gentle flow of the river. As if keeping company with anyone lost in thought, in that forest lived a rabbit. All the animals knew him not because of his kindness, nor because of his wisdom, but because of one thing: the rabbit was incredibly fast. When he ran, it was as if even the wind was left behind. His legs were light, his jumps were high, and his face was always filled with excessive confidence. Every morning, as the sun had just begun to rise, the rabbit was already running back and forth. Sometimes he deliberately ran circles around the other animals, just to make sure that none of them could match him. With a small laugh, he often said, "If life were a race, I've been the winner since birth." Some of the animals simply smiled when they heard that. Others chose to walk away. They knew the rabbit was fast, but his words often left an unpleasant feeling behind. Not far from there lived a turtle. His body was small, his shell was heavy, and his steps were slow, very slow. By the time the rabbit had disappeared behind the trees, the turtle might have only taken a few steps forward. But there was one thing that made the turtle different. He never seemed restless. He walked calmly, as if he knew he would arrive eventually, sooner or later. The rabbit often mocked the turtle. One day he stopped right in front of him and said with a laugh, "Hey, turtle, if you keep walking like that, you'll arrive tomorrow. Or maybe next week." The turtle slowly turned his head and smiled. He did not respond with anger nor with mockery. He simply said, "Not every journey needs to be rushed." The rabbit laughed even louder. He did not understand the meaning of those words. To him, fast meant great and slow meant weak. Days passed as usual until one day the sky changed. Dark clouds gathered without much warning. Rain began to fall softly, then heavier and heavier still. The river that was usually calm began to overflow. The water turned murky, the current grew strong, and the roaring sound could be heard from afar. Problems began to appear. The animals' food source was across the river. They used to cross it easily, but now the river looked frightening. Many animals stopped at the riverbank, hesitant to move forward, including the rabbit. He stood there for a long time. He could run fast, but a river was not about speed. One wrong step and he could be swept away. The rabbit began to feel uneasy. For the first time, he did not know what to rely on. That was when the turtle arrived. His steps were still slow, his face still calm. He looked at the river, then at the rabbit standing there anxiously. "I can help you cross," said the turtle in a simple voice, as if it were nothing unusual. The rabbit fell silent. He stared at the turtle for a long moment. In his mind, he had never imagined that one day he would need help from a creature he had always considered weak. But the river was real, and so was his fear. Hesitantly, the rabbit climbed onto the turtle's shell. Slowly, very slowly, they entered the river. The water struck the shell, the current pushed against their bodies, but the turtle kept moving forward. Not fast, but steady. Step by step, in the middle of the river, the rabbit did not laugh. He was silent. He felt something he had never felt before. A sense of safety that did not come from speed, but from stability. When they reached the other side, the rabbit stepped down without saying much. Then, in a voice softer than usual, he said, "Thank you." The turtle simply nodded and smiled. A few days later, the forest grew calm again. But now something had changed within the rabbit. He no longer ran just to show off. He began to pay more attention to his surroundings. He started to listen, not just to speak. One afternoon, it was the turtle's turn to face difficulty. His mother was sick, and the medicine was at the far end of the forest. The sun was already beginning to set. The turtle walked as fast as he could, but time kept moving on. The rabbit saw him from a distance. Without thinking twice, he came closer and said, "Climb onto my back. I'll help you." They ran together. The wind whispered, leaves flew through the air, and for the first time, the rabbit's speed was used not to show off but to help. They arrived just in time. The turtle's mother was saved. From that day on, the rabbit and the turtle were often seen together. Sometimes the rabbit waited. Sometimes the turtle led the way. They understood one important thing. Every creature has its own strength. And not every journey has to be taken alone. And the forest became a witness to this truth, that arrogance makes us walk alone. But humility and helping one another make the journey feel lighter.